My goal this afternoon is to explain to you what it would take to get effective teaching at scale in all our nation's classroom. And although my argument applies to the teaching force in general, I'm going to focus my remarks this afternoon on beginning teachers. I hope you'll remember just two things from my testimony. First, we let people into classrooms in this country without knowing that they can perform, and the students who most need good teaching are the least likely to get those teachers. This is unethical. Second, we actually do know how to change this, so I'm going to concentrate on explaining to you what the elements are of what it would take to change this. Let me make the problem as clear to you as possible. We want to improve the learning of US students, but we don't have a system to supply skilled teachers to every classroom. Right now, teachers are considered qualified simply by participating in an approved program or completing an academic major. This means that being qualified does not depend on demonstrating that you can teach. Imagine if we allowed pilots to earn licenses without assessing whether they could fly, or granted medical licenses to people who had merely excelled in biology. What we currently do is to supply teachers to classrooms is dangerous for our nation's students. It's not an overstatement to tell you that this is a problem of crisis proportions. We must stop wasting energy debating whether teachers recruited one way or another are more effective. My argument is not an argument for or against either so-called traditional or alternative pathways into teaching. What matters most is that graduates of any pathway be capable of effective practice. Many people have ideas about how to improve teaching. Some think we should make it easier for people to enter the classroom. Some propose that we fire bad teachers, pay good ones more, or create incentives to recruit better teachers. And although all of these may sound sensible to you, none of them is sufficient to solve the core problem that ensuring that every teacher in every classroom can do the work we're asking of him or her. There are two reasons why training is crucial. One has to do with the nature of the work of teaching itself, and the other has to do with what I'm going to call the scale problem. First, despite how commonplace it may seem, teaching is far from simple work. I did it myself for over 17 years, and so I speak from experience as well as from the research that I've done. Doing it well requires, as Congressman Kildee said, detailed knowledge of the domain for which you're responsible to teach the students and a lot of skill in making it learnable. In my written testimony, I provided you with a simple example of a math problem to give you some experience of the difference between doing a math problem and knowing it well enough so that you could teach fourth grade. Teaching also requires good judgment and a tremendous capacity to relate to a wide range of young people. It involves a few other really important things too, such as the ability to manage a classroom, to interpret data on student performance, to use appropriate instructional tasks, to conduct a productive discussion with a group of 30, sometimes unwilling young people, and to communicate with their parents. By the way, it may be important for you to realize that raising standards for K-12 education, which many states are doing, will make teaching still more demanding. Teaching complex academic skills and knowledge, not to mention preparing students for working collaboratively in an increasingly networked world, is considerably more difficult than teaching basic skills. So my first point is that teaching is complex work and requires more than being smart and caring about kids. Here's my second point. Building teaching quality is a problem of massive scale. The teaching force numbers over 3.6 million. No other occupation in the United States even comes close to that size. This means that we have to help large numbers of regular Americans develop the ability to teach effectively. Even if super smart and highly educated people could teach effectively without training, and a few do, but most don't, there simply aren't enough such people to fill every classroom in this country. And in the next 5 years, we're going to need many, many new teachers due to a massive wave of retirement. Some estimates go as high as 1.7 million new teachers in the next 7 years. But there is hope. We do actually know what to do to fix this. We must establish specific standards for teaching practice and build a professionally valid licensure system. Assessments would focus on teachers' content knowledge of the kind I described a moment ago, their actual skill with working with the instructional practices most important for students' learning, and their persistence in working to make sure that every one of their students learns. These assessments would be substantially different from the ones we currently have in this country, which do not, for the most part, focus on the ability to teach. To prepare teachers for these standards, we would need to design a system of high-quality, rigorous training that is centered on practice. This system would have three key components: a curriculum focused on the highest leverage instructional practices and the specialized knowledge of the academic domain the teachers are responsible to teach. Second, close practice and feedback in clinical settings so that teachers can be deliberately taught and explicitly coached with the skills to reach a wide range of learners. And third, highly credible and predictive professional assessments of knowledge and skill so that no one enters a classroom without demonstrated capacity for effective performance as a beginning teacher. In conclusion, students must have teachers who are prepared to help them learn, not beginners who are struggling with their responsibilities. Allowing teachers to learn on our young people is unethical. Teaching is intricate work that can be learned to high levels of skill with appropriate training. We have not done that yet in this country through any approach. It is time to mobilize the expertise, knowledge, and will to build a system that can supply skilled teachers to our nation's classrooms. Thank you.